The Keystone pipeline has been under debate for 5 years, or every year of the Obama presidency. And now Democrats have had enough. 11 Senate Democrats sent a letter to the president yesterday, giving him a new deadline of 6 weeks to make a decision. The letter says, in part, this process has been exhaustive in its time, breadth, and scope. It has already taken much longer than anyone can reasonably justify. Of course, the Obama administration is coming up with more excuses why transporting 800,000 barrels of oil each day from Canada to the Gulf Coast, providing thousands of jobs, is a bad thing. Joining me for tonight's Q&A is Christopher Horner, Senior Fellow for the Energy and Environment Legal Institute. Chris is also the best-selling author of Red Hot Lies: How Global Warming Alarmists Use Threats, Fraud, and Deception to Keep You Misinformed. Thank you for joining me, Chris.
Thank you.
So when I saw this, I kind of chuckled to myself a little bit and said, okay, it's an election year. Let me see who these 11 Democrats were that sent this letter. And of course, 5 out of the 6 of them are in pretty tough battles for re-election, including Landrieu, Hagan, Warner, Pryor, Begich. Does this surprise you at all?
No, the letter wasn't about the pipeline. It wasn't about the president or his decision. It was clearly about the signatories to the letter. And I have a slightly different take than some of the media on their keeping Republicans off of the letter, saying that this shows just how tough we're getting on the president, making it all Democratic. If you think about it, these 11 would join with all the Republicans who support the pipeline, and you would show that there's a fairly strong majority in the Senate for this to happen. And the one thing President Obama is afraid of is losing the Senate. This would show that you're going to need a different majority leader. So I think that this is really, it's a gesture, it's a pose, because they could do things like Ted Cruz did, try to take over the floor, try to make things happen, not run for election by saying, I'll be the guy who writes a letter asking the president to do something, but I'll be the guy or the lady who actually does something. Or they could get on a letter with Republicans and really make this difficult and say, there's a majority of us here, you are on the fringes. Well, that would show they're tough.
You know what I think? I think that they're frustrated because this president has been he's had a certain amount of inertia with what's going on with his Democrat senators who are in trouble because of Obamacare and their just myopic way of just focusing on that and making that successful. Particularly Senator Landrieu. I mean, she's the chairman of the Energy and Resources Committee. She's in a very tough battle, and they're reaching out to the president saying, listen, you're going to have to help us out here. And I think that presents an interesting political problem for Obama, because it's either, okay, we could risk losing the Senate, or we risk upsetting the green environmentalists like, Tom Steyer, the billionaire, who's putting $50 million into campaigns to fight global warming. So what does he do here? I think it's an interesting dilemma for him.
It is, and remember, this is pretty much cost-free for the president. In fact, he's cleaning up financially. Tom Steyer's promised him $50 million of his own money, and he'd match it with a little help from his friends. That's a big donation. The only thing that would make this a problem for the president is if he actually decided, and then he would upset half of his base, approximately. Let's say a good quarter to a third. And so the only thing that would really put him in peril is if you made this extremely difficult, and that is got on a letter with all the senators who support it, which I go back to saying this is really a gesture. You can do things as senators more than just write letters with a select crowd of only your party, and you could show that, well, it seems to be Harry Reid we're stopping us from forcing your hand. So this, to me, is sadly, it smells of a pose rather than a real effort to try to force his hand.
Well, I think that the White House has already shown their hand somewhat, because Jay Carney has already come out and they basically have dismissed this letter and said that they're going to stick with the process. I mean, it's already 4 out of 5 4 studies in the last 5 years have already shown this. It will not have any environmental impact. Just take a listen real quick to what Jay Carney had to say. Oh, I have to read it. That's right. It's a full screen. He said, our position on that process hasn't changed, which is that it needs to run its appropriate course without interference from the White House or Congress. It was because of actions taken by Republicans in Congress that one delay was caused in the process already. So that review continues at the State Department. So they're defaulting to this excuse that it's still in the process and, we're not going to make a decision yet. So for their sake, they got to change their position. But Chris, just really quickly.
Okay, well, Senator Bennett from Colorado is also saying, well, let's just let the process play out. It's been playing out for 5 years. He's saying that because the other senator would vote against it. This is a very difficult situation for them if they're forced to do something. So long as he doesn't act, this is a free ride for them, and they're making money off of it.
Well, Chris, thanks. It's always a pleasure. We'll see what they do.
Thank you.
Earlier in the show, we talked about how the left likes to blame conservative policy for the state of our country. Well, up next, Will explains why they need a history lesson.